This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com with a daily combat sports news update for you. As I got my dog Piper here helping me out today. Raw last night did its fourth lowest rating ever, a 0.53 in the 18 to 49 demographic. Jinder Mahal, according to the Wrestling Observer, his knee surgery that he recently had after only just being back for a short period of time from another injury, it appears that his latest surgery is more serious than originally expected. Dominic Denucci, yesterday we reported that the 88-year-old was in the hospital with heart issues. Apparently, according to his family, they've thanked everyone for their support, and they say he's stable as of this moment. Regarding the thigh-slapping tweets that Randy Orton did yesterday, or I guess he did them on Sunday and possibly yesterday, making fun of the thigh-slapping in an NXT that's done to death these days in all promotions, but particularly with the smaller wrestlers in NXT and AEW. Meltzer pointed out that up until recent decades, it was mainly Shawn Michaels doing it with the super kick and Chris Adams doing it. So back in those days, it wasn't as overdone, but now all the fans know about this stupid thigh-slapping trick, but the wrestlers continue to do it. So I think that has a lot to do with why people don't watch anymore. Stupid stuff like that. I actually like to make contact when I wrestle. You'll never see me slap a thigh. As far as what New Japan Pro Wrestling's big announcement was after Raw last night, their president made an announcement last night that they're going to start back running on June 16th, and they're going to do shows in front of no fans until July 11th. And then on July 11th and July 12th, they are going to be doing their special Dominion event, which is going to be in front of fans. And let me remind everyone, because I love to remind people, my YouTube channel gets far more viewers than New Japan's YouTube channel, yet they've never had any interest in using me as a wrestler because they know I can destroy all their wrestlers. In UFC news, Dana White has announced that there's going to be a heavyweight championship match between Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier. Their rubber match is going to take place August 15th. No location announced yet. Technically, if they have it in Florida, unless things change, they would be able to do it in front of fans in Florida, and more states might also open up by then. The Yas Island, Abu Dhabi location, Dana White confirmed today, I already reported that a couple weeks ago, is where Fight Island's going to happen. So definitely Yas Island in Abu Dhabi is a little less cool than what was originally thought. It was going to be a private island. There has been past UFC shows on this Yas Island. There's going to be a 10 square mile safety zone on the island around where the UFC events are going to take place. There's not going to be any fans at the venues. The hotel, training facilities, and eating establishments are going to be right on the island. So it's only going to be athletes, coaches, UFC staff, event personnel, and Dana White himself says he's going to stay on the island in July. UFC 251 is going to take place there on July 11th. There's going to be, I think, 4 shows on Fight Island. There's going to be another one Wednesday, July 15th, Saturday, July 18th, and Saturday, July 25th. I guess the arrangement with Fight Island is part of a multi-year partnership with Abu Dhabi's Department of Culture and Tourism. Also, in this same press conference today, Dana White stated that Kamaru Usman just signed a new 6-fight deal. It's interesting that the original reason for Fight Island was to have a place for international fighters to fight, but by the time July happens, a lot of border restrictions are already being lifted. It's very likely that by the time July rolls around, international fighters will be allowed to go into the U.S. I know that athletes can already travel to the U.S. from Canada, so although I'm sure it's a good deal with UFC and Abu Dhabi to have Fight Island take place there, there's probably not going to be as much of a necessity for it as in the past. And by the way, Khabib's father, from what I understand, is also doing better in MMA news. I'll get into some of your questions. City of Roses 79 says hi. Ethan Wilkins is at a lower rating than Raw had last week. Note, they did a 0.49 last week. This week's was a 0.53. So they're slightly up from last week. Victor Murphy says it's 93 degrees right now where he is. The weather has actually improved a lot where I am too. I have been running like distances. I do this because when you run far out distances, you can't really quit. But I think pretty soon it's getting hot here. I'm going to have to be regulated to running only on the track because I'm going to need to start carrying water. Last night on my run, I was pretty dehydrated by the end of it. Mike Hamilton, thanks for the $10 tip again, Mike. Really appreciate Mike Hamilton and all your continuous tips. He says, what's the obsession with Drake Maverick from WWE? He's not believable. We've had to see him cry on TV 3 times. Nobody cares. Well, he's part of NXT, which means Triple H is in charge of NXT and is the senior producer of NXT. So Triple H obviously has a hard-on for this 5'4" Drake Maverick. We know that Triple H likes the small gymnast-type wrestlers. I love how for all the pictures for NXT's In Your House last Sunday, the main picture that you see more than any of the wrestling pictures from the event is Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and the Road Dogg all looking at a computer typing away. We all know they're creative. Why do we have to constantly be reminded that wrestling is fake? It's a storyline, and these dorks are sitting there with the computer. The big funny thing is Shawn Michaels typing with 2 fingers. It's like, is this supposed to be cool because DX 20 years after they were cool are writing the show, and you have to continuously point out that there's writers for your show now? Could you imagine if like they had WrestleMania 5 and the main picture coming out from WrestleMania 5 was Pat Patterson and Vince McMahon at gorilla position writing? I don't know. Wrestling is just, there is some good wrestling in some places, like PCW Ultra, Great North Wrestling. I'm sure there's others out there. I do question some of MLW's signings, but overall, from what I understand, their product is fairly realistic as well compared to others. But I don't know. I think it's overly exposed, especially with this angle they're doing with Randy Orton, whether it's an angle or not, him pointing out that wrestlers on his very roster are slapping their legs. I don't know. I don't see there being a huge boost in wrestling anytime soon until something drastic happens. Michael B, thanks for the $5 tip, Michael B. He says he enjoyed the Ricky Morton shoot interview. And I am doing an interview with New Jack this week, apparently, if it comes off. So I've posted that on my YouTube story already. If anyone has any questions, suggestions for New Jack. I will review that YouTube story before I do the interviews, and I'll take some of your questions into considerations. Victor Murphy tipped me $5. He says the Vince Russo compilation video I put out last night is great. How about a plug to First Combat, June 13th, San Diego Drive-In Wrestling. So yes, Victor Murphy, I'll plug you $5. There's going to be a drive-in wrestling show put on by First Combat, June 13th in San Diego. I know we have a lot of California viewers here. It's sad to see these riots and the beatings that are going on to innocent people in California right now. It's really sad. I saw a clip from Santa Monica of people being dragged out of their cars and getting beat up. I've seen these clips from San Jose of people getting their car windows smashed, pulled out of their cars, and beat up. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I always thought I wanted to live in the U.S., but all this stuff I'm seeing there definitely makes me have second thoughts about that. Stormblast says hello. Alan Kesselman, hope he gets better soon, related to Dominic Denucci. Malaface says he feels sorry for Jinder. Jinder Mahal is a multi-millionaire who's made lots of wrestlers lots of money in the wrestling business. So I feel sorry that he's having injuries, but there's other wrestlers that need to get opportunities too. Richard Min says he remembers the son of Tony Denucci was Dominic Denucci's son wrestling. Ethan Wilkins says he loves NXT, but he agrees with Orton that there's too much leg slapping. Captain Brandon Horror Lover says, bonsoir, friends. Flick Club Entertainment says hello. Hey, he helps share a lot of these videos around. We really appreciate all of his help. Alan says waiting for Pipsqueak Drake Maverick to win the NXT title. Well, they got another Pipsqueak, Adam Cole holding it now. He's slightly bigger than Drake Maverick. Am I going to review Backlash on Sunday? No, I don't want to watch it. I don't like these shows in front of no fans, and there's no matches that interest me. Kent Freeman says, hello, everyone. Jody Smith, a rubber match is the third match between Miocic and Cormier. I believe they each have a victory over each other, and I think this next match is going to be their final match. Stephen Jones says Bobby Lashley isn't a draw. Well, they've wasted Bobby Lashley. And by the way, for this Raj Beck, a lot of people are talking. They believe that Raj Beck, Alberto Del Taco, Maharaja, whatever you go by, I think he's got 4 or 5 accounts. A lot of people are coming on to the realization that it's the same guy making all these posts. But for the people that say he's a bot, he is not a bot. Obviously, he says that they robbed the Amazon van. That's messed up. Ethan Wilkins also says the riots suck and innocent people have it the worst. They do. They really do. And I mean, on both sides of it, police hurting elderly people. There's been rioters hurting elderly people. There's been police hurting some innocent people. There's been rioters hurting innocent people. So the innocent people are the true victims. For the people that bring their kids to these protests and posting pictures of their kids getting hurt, I don't know why you would risk your kid bringing your kid to a protest, especially seeing everything that's been going on at many of them. Some of them have been peaceful, but I don't have kids, but I wouldn't even bring my dog to a protest. John Flacetta tipped me $2. Thank you, John. He says, love the channel. Keep up the great work. Jody Smith, I used to drive in wrestle with my ex-wife. Haha. Alan Kesselman. I'm not going to say that comment. I'm trying to stay away from too much controversial, political controversy on this channel because this is about wrestling. We go on here to escape the real world. Jay Ward says, sorry if this is a stupid question, but how do I tip? I'm a longtime follower on YouTube. Think you do awesome work. Where's the Ricky Morton in full? Well, if you want to tip me, go to patreon.com/thehannibaltv. It's $1.99 a month. You get to watch all of my shoot interviews free, ad-free, and they're posted on there before I ever post them in full on YouTube as a thank you to you guys and to give my Patreons something special for helping me pay for these interviews. I really appreciate your support, and you can tip on there. I really don't know how people tip on here. Michael B says use the super chat to tip. But thank you. And I do suggest to Jay Ward, subscribe to that Patreon because you can pay $1.99 a month, which is the minimum on there. Or if you want to help support me, I know there's someone on there, Donald Roussel, that tips $9.99 a month, I believe. I think he tips something like $9.99 a month. And there's others that tip higher levels. So if you want to support my channel more, you can make your donation higher. And I do use that for shoot interviews like this New Jack one I'm getting. A couple more questions here. Captain Brandon Hunter, I love my retro wrestling, as we say here in the South. Love my retro horror movies. I do as well. I love the horror movies from the past are better overall than any of the recent horror movies, in my opinion. I can't even remember the last recent horror movie of like the last 20 years. There's been some entertaining ones, like the most recent Halloween, but did it scare me? No, but it was one of the better horror movies I've seen in recent years. John Residence, another one of the supposed linked accounts to the Maharaja and as Alberto Del Taco. Can I beat CM Punk in a real fight? Yes. 100% yes. And if he ever wants to have an MMA fight with me in Bellator or any company, I would be more than open to that. Ethan Wilkins, the tip button is next to the chat. There you go. Biggest Richard Cranium says $sign to the right of the live chat text box is how you tip. And biggest Richard Cranium, I know he is a Patreon supporter because he messages me on Patreon, and I appreciate all of his support. Amber Dobbs says, I saw something about Shad Gaspard died when he saved his son's life. Apparently the lifeguards were going to save Shad, and he pointed to save his son first. Now, I have posted, I think, the last 4 or 5 interviews Shad Gaspard ever did on this channel. My buddy over at the Wrestling Classic let me repost them on this channel. And if you look at the top pinned comments on all of those Shad Gaspard interview clips, one of them, which was done just days before he died, by the way, you could buy a shirt on the Collar and Elbow t-shirt website that Al Snow runs, and the proceeds from buying one of those Shad Gaspard shirts will go to a fund to help support his son going to college and so forth. Pete C., why did Jinder come back to wrestling if he wasn't medically fit? I can only assume this was a new injury. Some people are injury prone. Ronald Ryan says he wants to see Kane play Jason Voorhees. I think Kane is really busy these days as mayor of Knoxville. Albrick says this channel is awesome. Captain Brandon Horror Lover says he'd love to see Friday the 13th franchise make an installment like they did during the 80s Paramount Pictures years. Yes, that would be cool. Ellen Degenerate, one of those alleged combined accounts of the person that has 5 accounts on here. Will I get stem cells in the future? I've heard good things about them. Luckily for me, right now, I'm injury-free. But if I had an injury, would I consider stem cells rather than surgery? Well, Dan Severn has had it. Kevin Nash has had it. I've heard many people have had it. So would I give it a shot? Yes, I would. One guy here that comments often, Zer WSTSDD7, so forth numbers. He said the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the best. That's a great one, for sure. So I'm going to end it at that for tonight. Hyper says I should do a career interview with Max Moon. I thought it was Conan was Max Moon, but you're saying it was Thomas Boric. Maybe there was 2 Max Moons. Maybe. Anything's possible. Right now I'm limited until they open the border to Skype interviews, but I'm working on it. Special Challenger 1 says this is one of the best interview channels, hands down. He loves the Marty Jannetty interview. That's one of my favorites too. I really like that one. Have a great night, everyone. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Hannibal TV. I also post shoot interview clips on the Hannibal TV. Have a great night. Subscribe to our Great North Wrestling podcast too. The link is at thehannibaltv.com.